Well, pressure is mounting on Western Cape High Court Judge President Judge Hlophe to go on special leave or be suspended. The Judicial Conduct Committee is probing misconduct allegations against Hlophe, including that he sexually harassed female judges. The allegations stem from a complaint lodged by his deputy, Judge Patricia Goliath, who also accused Hlophe of preferential treatment of his wife, Judge Gayaat Salie-Hlophe. At least 3 organizations, including the Cape Bar Council, have called on Chief Justice Mogoeng Mogoeng to intervene. We are now joined by Lawson Naidoo, who is the Executive Secretary of the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution, better known as CASAC, who joins us from our Cape Town studios. Good evening, Lawson, and welcome to The Full View. How do you think this matter should be approached?
Well, I think the matter should be approached as one of the utmost urgency. These are serious allegations that are contained within the complaint that is laid by the Deputy Judge President Goliath in the Western Cape against Judge President Hlophe. We believe that the Judicial Conduct Committee should convene as a matter of great urgency to deal with this matter. We know that the Deputy Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, is the chair of that committee, and as we know, he's someone that is extremely busy with other matters of state at the moment. So we certainly hope that that committee will be able to be convened as soon as possible, and that they appoint one of the members of the committee to conduct an investigation on the allegations that have been leveled against Judge Hlophe.
And while we wait for these processes to unfold, there have been calls for the Judge President to step aside in the meantime while there's an investigation. What's your take on this?
Well, I think it's of critical importance that he does step aside, and I think most people would see that the right thing for Judge Hlophe to do is to voluntarily step aside whilst this matter is aired and investigated by the Judicial Services Commission. That it would be unhealthy for him to continue in office with this cloud over him, the impact that it has on all of the other judges within the Western Cape Division, as well as the impact that it has on the judiciary as a whole in South Africa. The independence and integrity of the judiciary is fundamental to the rule of law, and he would be, he would be amiss in not stepping aside at this point in time.
While we understand that he is the Judge President of the Western Cape High Court, but one thing that we cannot take away from this matter is that you have 3 very senior judges, at least his deputy, that is Judge Patricia Goliath, as well as his wife, being embroiled in all of these allegations. Isn't it prudent that all 3 of them step aside instead of just focusing on Judge President Judge Hlophe?
I would agree totally with that, Aldrin. I think it's in the interest of justice, in the public interest, for all 3 of them to step aside whilst this matter is being resolved. It's also worth noting that Judge Patricia Goliath is a member of the Judicial Conduct Committee. Now, obviously, she will not be able to participate in any of the hearings of that committee in dealing with this matter, as she is the complainant in the issue. But I absolutely agree that all 3 of them ought to step aside, and perhaps the Chief Justice and the JSC need to bring in a judge from outside of the Cape Division to act temporarily as the Judge President whilst this matter is being resolved.
Sure. When I spoke to the lawyer representing the Hlophes, Barnabas Kulu, he argued that, and now that you've indicated as well, that Judge Goliath is part of the Judicial Conduct Committee, that if those allegations were indeed true, why didn't she raise them immediately? And also now, considering that she's part of the Judicial Conduct Committee, that these are accusations that were set to bring the entire Western Cape High Court Division into disrepute. Why not act immediately?
Well, I think those are questions that Judge Goliath will have to answer when the inquiry or the investigation gets underway, as to why she did not act sooner on the complaint, and so on. Those are issues that the Judicial Conduct Committee, can interrogate with her. I don't think it's a reason for Judge Hlophe not to step aside at this point in time, or to try to deflect attention away from the seriousness of the allegations against him.
And one of those allegations being that he tried to influence the appointment of judges who would be presiding over the matter in relation to the nuclear deal. And we know what a big saga that, of course, was. But considering how high up all of these allegations are taking place, do you think that the president, at least, should be saying something?
Well, in terms of the Constitution and the Judicial Service Commission Act, the President has no role to play at this point in time until such time as the committee or the Judicial Services Tribunal makes a request to the President to act and to suspend Justice Hlophe. But that's quite a long way down the line in terms of the process that the JSC has to follow. So I think we don't want to have to wait until that point before the Judge President is asked to recuse himself. So there's no role for the President at the moment, but I think this is something that the Chief Justice needs to take on board as the office holder that's really ultimately responsible for the judiciary, for its integrity, for its independence, and for public perceptions of its independence.
And the Cabinet, now I'm speaking about the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, should he be saying something? Should he be intervening or at least meet with the Chief Justice?
No, I mean, I think it's quite clear that the Judicial Services Commission has to deal with this matter in terms of the legislation and its rules. So it's the Judicial Conduct Committee and the like. I don't think it would be appropriate for the executive to intervene at this point in time. But there will come a time where, as I say, the President may have to intervene in terms of suspension. But I think, this highlights a bigger problem for me, Alton. It's not just about this matter of Judge Hlophe. There have been several other complaints that have been leveled against judges. And, the processes of the JSC and the Judicial Conduct Committee are quite opaque. We don't really know how they operate, what process they follow and so on. And we certainly know that they don't act with urgency and with speed, which is something that I think is absolutely necessary when there's such, complaints against senior members of the judiciary.
Well, thank you so much, Lawson Naidoo. And to that as well is that currently we're still waiting for those allegations leveled against Judge John Hlophe back in 2008 to be finalized. That matter still continues. That was Lawson Naidoo from the Council for the Advancement of South Africa's Constitution.